DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one framework, one method, one philosophy, a bunch of books, this daily masterclass, all under the umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, human nature, not changing. So some things about human nature we're going to talk about here today. We talk about human nature actually every episode of this show, but I'm going to lay out some things explicitly here today about human nature that are not going to change. Therefore, you should not complain about them, not beat your head against the wall trying to fight them, but actually learn how to work using the energy of these human nature principles, traits, and truisms that are not changing. So before I get into that, let me tell everyone that I send out a daily motivation text every single morning. If you want to get that daily motivation text, it's completely free of charge, straight to your phone. All you got to do is send me a text at the following number, 305-384-6894. Once you text me there, we're going to confirm that is you, and you'll be getting that daily motivation text every morning. And if you ever have a question, a challenge, something that you think I might be able to help you with, you can just text me there, and I will respond. Because every day, I take a few minutes out, depending on how many texts I have, and sometimes more than a few minutes, and I respond to all of my texts. Usually more than once a day I'm checking that text, because now I'm starting to get so many that sometimes I got to check them more than once so I don't get backed up. But that number, once again, is 305-384-6894. And again, you'll get the daily motivation text at least. And then if you want to engage and ask questions or respond to anything or ask me anything, you can do so there as well, again, through text. So all that said, now let's get into our point, our show rather. Human nature not changing. Definition of human nature is the general psychological characteristics, feelings, and behavioral traits of humankind regarded as shared by all humans. That's in the definition. Now, what I'm going to talk about here today, I'm going to give you 4 specific things about human nature that I think are really important for all of us to understand. This is far from a conclusive list when it comes to human nature. I mean, you could go on and on. We could talk every episode of this show. Again, as I said before, it talks on something about human nature, so we could do an endless episode here. And I may do a follow-up on this in the future when I think of 3, 4, 5, or more other things that I think when it comes to human nature, people need to understand instead of trying to fight against. Point number 1, topic once again, human nature not changing. Number 1, people will do and say inexplicable things that do not make sense to you. They do not make sense to you. Now, they may make sense to them. Listen, as long as a person is mentally sane, they have control over their mental faculties, nobody does something for nothing. All right, people don't do things that don't make sense to themselves. They do things that make sense to them, but it might not make sense to you. And understand something, someone else's actions or words or beliefs do not need to make sense to you. They need to make sense to them. And that's okay. It's okay if someone does something that doesn't make sense to you because you're not living their life. Only they're living it. So if you think someone is crazy for something that they did, you have a right to think that they're crazy, but at the same time, they have a right to do the thing that they did. Let them be who they're going to be. This is one of the keys of understanding human nature is that nobody is going to be exactly like you. People don't have the same ideas. They don't have the same opinions. They don't have the same beliefs. One of the biggest challenges that we're dealing with these days is ideas, opinions, and beliefs. I think many of us, at least the type of people who listen to this show, type of people who are attracted to what I talk about, you understand that we don't all have the same opinions and beliefs. But at the same time, the baseline that allows humankind to be humankind, the baseline from which we can all operate is understanding that there are certain facts, there are certain truths, there are certain hard black and white things that we can all agree to. The challenge that we have these days is that we're starting to lose that. We can't even agree on the basics. And this is where things are starting to get out of control because we can't even agree on what are the basics of things. We can't even agree on what's factually accurate. We can't even agree on what's truthful anymore. And this is where we get complete chaos. In episode number 1407, I told you that subjective opinions matter more than facts these days. And this is really where it was going 600 episodes ago, and this is where we're at. All right, I told you this again, episode 1407. We're at nearly 2000 now, and this is exactly where we're at. This is the world that we're living in right now, and you just need to accept these things. I'm not telling you that you need to go and try to fight these and change them. You can try it if you wish. It's your life. You can do what you want. It would be inexplicable to me, but it might make sense to you, as I'm talking about here. But these are something that I would suggest you just accept. Sometimes people are going to do things and say things that do not make any sense to you, but they do make perfect sense to them. And I want you to understand, by the same token, you have probably done some things or said some things that other people don't understand. That's the beauty of humanity, is that we are not all the same. It'd be boring if we were. So even though you may get frustrated or angry or even saddened by the fact that other people will do things that don't quite make sense to you, once you get over that frustration, anger, and sadness, be happy that not everybody is exactly like you, because what would we need you for if everybody else was just like you? Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, human nature not changing. Social proof matters, and it matters a lot. I told you in episode, let me tell you what episode that was, if I can find it. Episode number 435, why you should care about rankings, top lists, and subjective opinions. You should care about how other people are seeing you, or how the world is seeing you, or where you get listed by other people. The reason why it matters is because social proof matters, and social proof can be leveraged for whatever it is that you want in life. Fame, money, attention, love, happiness, maybe happiness. At least maybe you think it'll get you happiness. Usually it won't. I got an episode coming on that very soon. But social proof is basically your way of showing other people that other people are connected to, care about, are listening to, are involved with you. That's what social proof is. Social proof is just letting everybody else know, hey, you're basically validating yourself to people who don't know about you by telling them about the people who do know about you. That's social proof. For example, if I tell you follow me on Instagram at Dre Baldwin, which is literally my Instagram name, the social proof is I don't even have to say it to you. Sometimes the social proof is just self-evident. When you go to my Instagram profile, you're going to see how many people are following me. And that number of people who is following me will either validate me as social proof to you, like, okay, this guy is somebody, or it will invalidate me and you'll say, oh, that's all he got? Nah, he ain't doing nothing. And you won't follow me. So that could play a role in whether or not you pay attention to me any further or not, just based on the social proof of what I have, what other people have said about me so far. Whenever someone is selling something, for example, Work on Your Game Live is coming up January 21st and 22nd down here in Miami, Florida. When you go to workonyourgame.live, which is the landing page where you can see everything about the event and get your tickets, which you should be at right now. When you go there, yes, of course, I'm going to be on the page, and all the words on the page are written by me, and I'm saying what I'm saying. Of course, I'm going to talk my own event up and make it sound like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, which it actually is. That's actually the truth. That's a fact that we all should agree with. But at the same time, you're probably going to want some social proof. Like, yeah, of course, you are going to talk up your event like it's the greatest thing ever, but what does anybody else say? Who else has been to this event, and what do they say about it? Well, we call those, in the sales world, we call those testimonials. And guess what? When you go to workonyourgame.live, we got a whole bunch of testimonials right there on the page, video testimonials. So not only is it written words and pictures, you also see the face of the person and let them tell you themselves what they got from being at the last Work on Your Game Live. So you want to see some social proof in action. Next time you go to somebody's page where they're selling something, look at the testimonials. Look at other people telling you how much they got value from the thing that you are being asked to do yourself. That is social proof. And social proof matters a whole lot. We are, as human beings, we are followers. All of us are followers. I don't mean social media followers, but it's very fitting that on social media, the people who are in your audience, they are called followers, because all of us as humans, we're followers. We are wired to be attracted to strong personalities. Even if the strong personality is quote unquote wrong in whatever they're doing, if the personality is strong enough, you will be attracted to them, even if you're just following what they're doing just so you can be mad at what they're doing. I'm sure many of us can think of plenty of examples of this. So when you see a person who may lack your level of substance, and maybe they don't have as much game as you, but it seems like they have a significant audience, and maybe more of an audience than even you have, despite their lack of game and lack of substance, and they're getting more opportunities because of it. Understand that social proof is part of that equation. Our opportunities in the world that we live in today are connected to social proof. If you have a lot of followers and a lot of attention on the internet, you can leverage that into business opportunities. You can leverage that into all kinds of business opportunities, speaking gigs, into brand deals, into sales, into building even more of an audience. So some social proof leads to more social proof. Because you got a lot of followers, more people want to follow you. Why? Because they see everybody else is already doing it. This is just how it works. Why? Because human beings are followers. Have you ever heard of the bandwagon? You ever heard somebody use that phrase, bandwagon? What does it mean? In sports, for example, the Golden State Warriors, when they started winning championships around 2015 and Steph Curry became the most popular thing in basketball in the ensuing years, all of a sudden the Golden State Warriors had all these fans. And I'm like, wait, I never knew there were so many Golden State Warriors fans. Now, I know some people who are actually from the Bay Area in California, and they were Warriors fans before the Warriors became this carnation of the Warriors. But then all of a sudden, all these other people were Steph Curry fans, all these other people were Warrior fans. I'm like, wait a minute. I know you for 20 years. I never heard you say anything about the Golden State Warriors. Now, all of a sudden, you're a Warriors fan. Why was that? The bandwagon. What is the bandwagon? When the bandwagon starts moving, everybody chases after it just so they don't get left behind, even when they have no idea where that bandwagon is going. This is just how human beings are. When we see that everybody else is doing something, we are much more likely to do it ourselves. That's just how it works. The more social proof we as humans are shown that a bunch of people are doing a thing, that increases the likelihood that we do that thing. So if you want people to do something for or with you, the best way to move them to action, one of the best ways to move them to action, is to show them how other people are already doing it. To show them how they are one of the outsiders who's not doing it, and they can become an insider by just doing what everybody else is already doing. So this is how you can get social proof to work for you. Flipping it around, get it on your side, combine that with some actual substance and game. Now, you could just use social proof alone, and that could work for you, but it may run out because somebody else could just out social proof you, so to speak. Someone else has more proof than you. Now they can just beat you at your own game. But if you combine social proof with substance and some actual game, and you're helping people actually get results, now you got something real and something that's sticky. So even when someone else might have more social proof than you, you will still keep people in your world because you've given them results and you've given them some actual substance. So this is where the social proof game comes in and why it matters so much. So do not hate the players who are utilizing social proof. Don't hate the game of social proof. If you want to be involved in the game, then you got to play the game the way that it works. And understand this is a concept of not just the game, this is a concept of human nature. The game of life is that human beings want to do what they see other people doing. So show people what everybody else is doing, which is buying your product or signing up for your service or following you on Facebook. And other people are going to want to do it simply because they see it's a popular thing to do. For example, sometimes in the opening of this show, I'll say something like, listen, this show has been listened to over 3 million times. Just by even saying that, and I'm not even really saying it to talk about that, I'm just saying that as what? Social proof. Me just saying that is social proof that you are amongst millions of people who listen to this show. I'm letting you know the significance of me and the Work on Your Game message by telling you how many people listen to the show. And that is making you feel unconsciously like, yes, I'm doing something that everybody else is doing. Now, some of us have a level of disagreeableness where we don't want to do what everybody else is doing. And we may even go against the grain just because everybody else is doing something. We're going to not do it simply because we don't want to go with the grain. Now, that can work as well. So that's like anti-social proof. So there's a way to make that work also. But I want you to have all of these things in mind so you understand strategically what you're doing. You're not just randomly doing stuff and then not understanding why you're getting the outcomes that you're getting. In episode number 1698, I explained the concept of disagreeableness and why being disagreeable may actually be the key to your success. Now let's move on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is human nature not changing. Number 3, emotion trumps logic. Emotion trumps logic. This is for all you salespeople out there. Also, this is everything I'm telling you here can work in sales. And understand, sales is not just exchanging a product or service for money. Sales is influence. Sales is persuasion. Sales is getting other people to do what you want them to do. All of that is selling. And understanding human beings, we make decisions based on our emotions, and then we justify those decisions based on our logic. We buy on emotion, we justify with logic. So if you want to move a person to action, it's easier to move someone to action via emotion than it is to move them with logic. It's not impossible to move somebody to action with logic. It's not impossible, but it's a little bit harder. It takes a little bit more time, a little bit more work, and it doesn't work on as many people. So just so you know, it's better to ask yourself the following question. When you do have logical reasons why somebody should do something, and most of us do, and usually most of us start with a logical reason for why somebody should do something. But if you really want to move someone to action quickly and make it stick, then you probably want to figure out the emotional part too. So ask yourself this question. How can my logical reasons to get someone to do something, all the logical argument that you have for why someone should do this thing, how can you connect them to something that's emotional? The better you can do that, the easier it will be to make it make sense for another person. Because remember, not everyone has the same ideas, beliefs, and opinions as you. Not everyone has the same logic that you have. Not everybody is as smart as you are. Or maybe people are just smart in different ways. But understand, emotion is a language that we all speak. We all speak an emotional language that doesn't change. So if you can connect to someone's emotion, you have a much better chance of connecting with them than you do if you try to go with logic, because people's logic can run the gamut. It can be very wide scale of where people's logic is at. But when it comes to emotion, that scale is not as wide. And that's why connecting on emotion works better, and it's just easier to do. Now, again, I want to give you a disclaimer on this. Connecting with people via emotion is that other people are doing this too. So your competition is trying to connect with people via emotion as well. And if all you have to get to hook someone is emotion, as soon as someone else comes along with something that is shinier, a shinier object of emotion, you will lose the people that you just had. So this is why you got to combine it with having some actual substance. So don't think that just because you connected to people through emotion that your job is over. You got to actually have some substance to go with it. In episode 1286, I told you how to be a person of substance. And in episode number 1620, I told you the style and substance mix for audience building. So make sure you have a combination of both. Do not leave out the logic. Do not leave out the substance, because it will burn you in the end. And it's going to feel even worse knowing that you had people's attention, but you couldn't keep it because there was no substance behind it. So once you know how your logic connects to emotion, use the emotion to get people's attention, to hook them, but then you got to follow it up with some logic so that you keep them. When I teach people about selling their offerings, their products, what we do is we take the logical outcomes, because usually when someone's creating and selling something, there's some logical reason behind it, which is good. Then we figure out what emotional needs do these logical points fulfill. Emotion is the big domino, so to speak, that renders logic nearly irrelevant and sometimes completely irrelevant. If you can connect your emotion, again, keyword substance. You gotta have some substance behind it, again, for long-term results. If all you need is a short-term result, you can forget about logic and substance and just go off emotion. But if you want long-term results, you gotta have some substance. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, human nature is not changing. Number 4, people are yearning, calling out, screaming out for purpose. People want to have a purpose. I talk to people all day, every day. I'm on social media. I use Instagram stories all day. I reply to DMs. I reply to comments. I get emails. I reply to the text at my text line, 305-384-6894. I have coaching clients, people who leave me reviews on my books and respond to emails that I send out. I send out probably a couple 100,000 emails every month, not probably. By the bill that I pay, a couple 100,000 emails every single month, and I get responses to those. I send out articles, interviews on my email list. How many emails do I send you every week? I have read and responded to probably over, we may be close to, I would say over 3 million messages, emails, comments, texts, DMs, app replies, etc., private messages in the last 17 years online. And I bring that up. There, I just gave you some social proof, and I wasn't even trying to do that. But I bring that up to tell you this, that so many people are looking for, people are looking for all different things. Some people come to me as something business-wise. Somebody may just be leaving a comment. Somebody might just be saying thanks for what you said or what you did, or somebody may be giving me some feedback on something. Somebody may be asking about an order. They put the wrong address in, and we got to fix the address and ship it again. It can be all different things that people reach out to me for, but I'll tell you one common denominator. of all these years, especially given what I talk about. But I think anyone who has an audience, and you respond to enough people and talk to enough people, you're going to find the same thing, is that so many people are just looking for purpose. People just want purpose in life. They want to know that when they get up in the morning and they go out to do whatever it is that they're doing, that this has a bigger purpose than just doing the thing. Nobody wants to just wake up every day and just go to work just to go to work. All right, even for the paycheck. Doesn't matter how big the paycheck is. People need a bigger purpose. People need something to connect to that lets them tell themselves, my life actually matters because this thing that I'm doing is connected to a bigger purpose than just go to work, just get the check, just pay the bills. All right, nobody wants to just do that. And there's someone listening to me right now, actually probably a bunch of people listening to me right now know that I'm talking specifically about you. That you know that you want to do something bigger than just get the check, just have a job, just take care of the family, just pay the bills. Even if you're doing a great job of it, you want something bigger than that. And this is one of the key points of human nature that I want you to understand. Because when you can show people something that they can believe in, something that they can follow, some type of purpose with which they can connect, they will get on board with you and they will go and do whatever or wherever you want them to go and do whatever you want them to say, whatever you say. Logic be damned. Now, some people are more prone, more susceptible to this than others, but everybody, every human being listening to me right now, including myself, we all need to be connected to a purpose. When you don't feel like your life has purpose, you feel hopeless. And it doesn't matter how good you're doing. You could be doing amazingly in life, at least on the surface, compared to the average person. The social proof may say you're doing great, but if you don't feel like you have any purpose, you don't really feel like getting out of bed. You don't really feel like being at work. All right, this is when people somebody who seems to be doing great just says, well, no, I'm gonna take some time off. I'm not gonna do this thing anymore. I don't feel like playing my sport anymore. I don't wanna do this business anymore. I don't wanna sing my songs anymore. Some people feel even suicidal. Why? Because they feel like they don't have a purpose. They don't feel like they're going anywhere. This is why many businesses have what they call mission statements, and ideally, everyone who works at a company will connect to the mission statement of a company and buy into the job. It doesn't usually work that way. I've worked at many companies, and I can't remember a single company I ever worked at where they actually talked to me about the mission statement, even though it was right there on the wall. Nobody ever brought it up. But that's the idea. That's the reason why it exists, because they want everyone to connect to the mission. And when people connect to a mission, they have a purpose. There's a reason for them being there. This is why somebody could work at a job where they don't own even 1% of the company, but they are so committed to the job. You ever go to a business and someone just seems so committed to the job as if they own it? It's because they have connected their purpose to doing that job. And that's actually a good thing. Now, these employees can be very annoying depending on what they're doing and what that purpose is, but you want to find people like that. Those are the kind of people you want on your side. You want the kind of people you want on your side are the type of individuals whose purpose is connected to helping you do whatever it is that you're doing. You can get those kind of people on your team, you can move mountains. You get those kind of people on your side, believing in you, there's nothing that you can't do when people are connected to a purpose. So yes, I am the work on your game guy, and I talk about skill and substance and logic and all of these things, but understand that when a person has a true purpose and the things that they're doing are connected to their purpose, they are unstoppable. Unstoppable, you want to see an unstoppable person, find someone who has decided that the thing that they're doing is their purpose. They will have skill that you didn't think they were, they will show you things that you didn't think they were capable of doing. This is why any type of cult, and I'm talking any kind of cult, cults where people kill themselves, cults where people are doing some kind of satanic rituals, cults where people are just doing stuff that make no sense to you, completely inexplicable. This is why cults work, because a cult, anyone who's a cult leader, they give their members a purpose to which they can attach, and those people will do unreasonable things because of that purpose. Anyone who's been in politics, if you are in a political campaign, especially the big ones that we see, like a presidential campaign, every president who has won an election, every winning president, all of them, including our current president, they have basically used many of the same principles that a cult leader would use to get people to buy into what they're doing, connect their message to that person's purpose, i.e. the voters, to their purpose, and those voters will go out and vote for that person, and they'll go influence other people to go vote for that person because they have got people to connect their personal purpose into the mission of that campaign. Every winning president has done this. Every single one of them. There are no exceptions. And the losing ones, the people who run but they lose, usually because they didn't do as good a job of connecting their message to the purpose of the voters. That's why they lost. It's not about the logic. It's not about their tax strategy or about their foreign policy or what they're going to do for healthcare. All of that stuff is minutia that does not actually matter. That's, again, people buy on emotion and justify on logic. People vote based on their emotions. People do not vote based on the issues. They vote based on who more connects to their personal purpose as a human being. That's it. That's the game. Let's recap today's class, which is human nature, which is not changing. Definition of human nature is the general psychological characteristics, feelings, and behavioral traits of humankind regarded as shared by all humans. And this, to be clear, is far from a conclusive list, just the first ones that I think are most important for us to talk about right now. And you defy these principles at your own peril. Point number one, people will do and say inexplicable things that don't make sense to you. And that's okay, because people do things that make sense to them. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It's not your job to make sense of what somebody else does. It's their job to make sense of it. Point number two, social proof matters. Human beings are followers. All of us are followers. We are attracted to strong personalities. And when we see someone who has other people following behind them, we are much more likely to follow behind them simply because other people are already doing it. Human beings are bandwagon jumpers. When we see everybody else doing something, we want to go do it. So like our parents used to ask us back in the day, if everybody else was jumping off a bridge, would you go do it? Most of us would say no, but the answer actually is yes. Yes, we would. We would go jump off the bridge because it looks like everybody else is doing it. We are followers, and social proof matters. You can also flip this around and use anti-social proof to get the disagreeable folks to follow you, people who don't like doing what everybody else is doing. Don't hate the player, don't hate the game, play the game. Point number three, emotion trumps logic. People make decisions based on emotion, and we come up with logical reasons to justify it. Even if the logic doesn't even connect, doesn't make sense, the emotion is stronger than it. This is why whenever you hear someone logically explain something that doesn't quite make sense, and you're like, wait a minute, what they just said doesn't even make sense, and you're poking holes in it and you're fact checking their bullshit, understand that their emotion is stronger than their logic, so their logic doesn't need to make sense. This is the whole point. All right, this is what human nature is about. All right, every politician should understand everything that I'm saying here today, or at least their campaign managers. Logic can work. It's just harder for people to understand it because logic requires thinking. All right, and most people don't think, don't read, and they're lazy. I told you this in episode 1772. People don't think. So if you're trying to influence people based on logic, understand you're talking to a very small percentage of the population. People who actually think critically, most people do not. So if you want to talk to most people, you got to talk emotionally, do not talk logically. Point number four, people yearn for purpose. When you can show people something that they can believe in, something they can attach their lives to, a purpose to connect to, they will do whatever you tell them to do, and logic doesn't even matter. You will never need to be logical with these people because they are bought into things emotionally, because purpose, there are so many people walking this planet these days, and I know this from personal experience, the many people that I talk to and hear from every day, so many people just have no purpose. Or they think they have a purpose that they want to get into, but they can't find their way towards it. People who don't have purpose are just aimlessly floating by in life. Wherever the wind goes, they go. When someone has a purpose, they will move mountains and they will show their abilities to do things that you didn't think was even possible. This is why cults work. This is how presidents win elections. You give people a purpose to attach to, and they will do unreasonable, completely illogical things to follow that purpose. These are things you need to use to your advantage. Don't complain or bitch about them. Use them. If you're the type of person who needs to figure out your purpose, or you know your purpose, you just want to get better at executing on it, you want to have a strategy so you can get to your purpose and really get it out to the world the way that it needs to, I can help you do that. My 3rd Day Mastermind is the only place that I offer direct one-on-one coaching, the only place I offer my direct time to anyone. If you're interested in talking to me about possibly being coached by me, we can hop on a Zoom call. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/call, CALL. You'll fill out a quick form. We'll get on a Zoom call, talk about what we need to talk about. And for everyone listening, I want you to text me so you can get my daily motivation text that I send out every morning. My number is 305-384-6894. Just text me right there, say hello. You'll be able to engage with me, and you'll get that next daily motivation that I send out every morning. Work on your game. Dre all day.